This week, the words of Ecclesiastes 3 keep coming up everywhere I turn. And I've learned that when God keeps putting the same verses in front of me, it's something I need to pay attention to. So today, I want to share with you a devotional that I found that reminds us all about God's time, and one of my favorite hymns about the things that only God can see. In this time where the world is swirling around us, I think it's more important than ever that we remember that the world is in God's hands. This devotional is by Alexis Newlin and is titled, A Time for Everything. There is a time for everything. Solomon shows us that even in the trials of life, the tribulations, the highs, the lows, God is using those times to grow us. What's your favorite season? I love fall. Fall means the trees are changing. The trees are splashed with colors of deep amber, gold, ruby red, and darkest of purples. The leaves litter the ground, painting the sidewalk with various colors. Fall means the air is cooler, which means hoodies. Y'all, I love a good hoodie. The best ones are pullover hoodies with a kangaroo pouch in the front, perfect for cold hands. Fall means boots and blue jeans, beanies and light scarves. Fall means nice warm sweaters with colorful leggings. Best of all, fall means pumpkin spice lattes. There's nothing better than taking a morning walk through the neighborhood, pumpkin spice latte in between cold hands, taking in all the changing colors of the trees. And then there's football. I could go on and on about how wonderful fall is, but as you can probably tell, it is my favorite season. Living in California now, it's rare to get a full fall like I did growing up in Georgia, but there are glimpses of it here. I take in every glimpse of fall and cherish it. Now let's talk about the season I hate. Summer. It's hot. That's pretty much the only reason I hate it. Everything else about summer is lovely. Vacation, longer days, the abundance of berries and stone fruit, more excuses to eat ice cream because of the temperatures outdoors. The heat of summer overshadows all of this. I spend my days counting down to fall. If I could find a place that was permanently fall, I'd be in heaven. In our Christian walk, we too experience seasons that are wonderful and difficult. I recently went through a season of pruning and loss, and I'm now in a season of growth and waiting. It's hard. God removed many things from my life that I deemed precious, as well as many things that I thought were good, but really weren't that great. Yet in those losses, it brought me closer to Him and has allowed me to grow more in trusting Him. To grow also takes work. Seeds have to set roots and break through the soil to produce fruit. The same goes for my walk. God wanted me to grow in trusting Him more, so many things happened in the past 6 to 8 months to test that trust. Again, very hard, but it allowed me to see how much I really needed to trust God with my life instead of trusting in myself. In Ecclesiastes 3, Solomon reminds us that there is a season for everything. We will experience both good and bad. In verses 2 to 8, he lists things that contrast each other. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. No experience is wasted. God acknowledges that we may experience seasons of great abundance and great loss. We can experience great joy or great pain. But the beautiful thing of all is this: none of these seasons or experiences is wasted. God can use everything we experience and make it beautiful. Here are a few wonderful promises to remember in our hard seasons. From James, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." From Genesis, "What was meant for evil, God meant for good." From 1 Peter, "And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you." And from the book of John, "I have said these things to you, that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but take heart. I have overcome the world." No matter what season you're in, whether it is lack or abundance, remember that God is with you. He loves you, and everything you experience is meant to grow you closer to him and advance his kingdom. Cling tight to him, whatever your season, for there is a time for everything. From time to time, a choral anthem inspires a hymn. Hymn of Promise was first conceived as an anthem in 1985, performed at the Pasadena Community Church in St. Petersburg, Florida, during a festival concert on Natalie Sleeth's music. Long known as a composer of anthems, especially for children, Natalie Sleeth was a native of Evanston, Illinois. She began piano study at the age of 4 and gained much of her musical experience by singing in choral ensembles during her earlier years. Studying music theory, piano, and organ at Wellesley College in Massachusetts, she received her BA in 1952. Married to Ronald E. Sleeth, a United Methodist clergyman and professor of homiletics at Perkins School of Theology, Southern Methodist University, she served as music secretary at Highland Park United Methodist Church from 1969 to 1976. Choristers Guild published her first anthem, Canon of Praise, in 1969, the highest-selling anthem in the history of this publisher. Her choral works for all ages number more than 200. Sleeth has the ability to compose both texts and music. Though Hymn of Promise has become a favorite hymn for funerals, it was written at a time when the author states that she was pondering the ideas of life, death, spring and winter, Good Friday and Easter, and the whole reawakening of the world that happens every spring. Inspired by a T.S. Eliot line, the germ of a new hymn grew from the idea, "In our end is our beginning," the phrase that begins the third stanza of the hymn. Shortly after its composition, the composer's husband was diagnosed with what turned out to be a terminal malignancy. Ronald Sleeth requested that Hymn of Promise be sung at his funeral service. A wonderful childlike simplicity permeates Hymn of Promise. Natalie Sleeth had a gift for composing texts on complex theological ideas that were still accessible to children. Composer R.G. Huff, who attended her funeral in Denver, Colorado, describes her impact on him in Worship Matrix, an online hymnal companion for the hymnal Celebrating Grace. In March of 1992, I attended the memorial service of Natalie Sleeth at Welsher Presbyterian Church in Denver, across the street from the church I served there. I had been a pen pal of sorts with her for several years and wanted to be there for the celebration of her contribution to church music, especially the music of children. For a full hour before the funeral, the church's choir, soloists, and organist performed her songs, hymns, and anthems. It was a great tribute to her writing legacy. Of course, this was one of the songs we heard that day. Like the theologian she was, Natalie Sleeth moved on to worship. Songs rising from silence, words seeking melodies, darkness becoming light, hope becoming evident in future days.
In the bulb there is a flower, in the seed an apple tree, in cocoons a hidden promise, butterflies will soon be free. In the cold and snow of winter there's a spring that waits to be unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. There's a song in every silence, seeking word and melody. There's a dawn in every darkness, bringing hope to you and me. From the past will come the future, what it holds a mystery, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. In